Welcome back, and today we are going to be flying out the F8F at 5.0. This thing is still a little bit of a ticking time bomb when it comes to the engine department, and the guns are pretty mediocre at best. However, at 5.0 you do have basically all the performance in the world. Even when you get up tiered, you are decently competitive. It's not fantastic. The flight performance definitely leaves some to be desired. And that's mainly because this thing just doesn't have any energy retention whatsoever. This is a vehicle that is good at being fast. However, it's hard to keep it fast due to the fact that it will shit away all of its speed in a singular turn. The rudder doesn't really work at high speed, so you want to slow down a little bit. But luckily for you, you're gonna do that automatically by simply touching any of the controls. And then the fact that your guns aren't that fantastic because you only have 450 cals. You can run 8, but I'll touch on that in a second here. The 450 cals make it so that you are essentially forced to make multiple passes on someone, and that's where this weakness really comes in. The funny thing is, the second you start going really slow and you start really get into that prolonged section of the fight, then the engine power starts taking over and you will be able to actually outstall and out-energy a lot of your enemies. The issue is, if you start doing that, you go at a very low speed, and at very low speed your engine will overheat even faster. So this thing has a few issues that really compile on top of each other. But if you look at the performance in itself and you don't really worry about the weaknesses too much, say for example you are in a 1v1 or something like a smaller fight, this thing can be extremely dangerous. But at the same time, for the enemy player, it's also relatively easy to just dispose of you. They can tempt you to dive on them. You do 1 or 2 turns, and if they then just run away, you are out of energy and you will get it back. You will eventually catch them. The issue is, if they are going fast enough, by the time you get to them, your rudder has locked up again and you won't be able to hit them. And then when you do hit them, you only have about 450 cals shooting in the general vicinity. Yes, this plane can be extremely strong. The performance on paper definitely is there. But when it comes to the dynamic battles, it starts to fall short a little bit. This is one of those planes that definitely can work if you play it right. It's super restrictive and you have to play it in a super particular manner, like in this fight right here. I have a decent amount of entry speed here. The Spitfire isn't going that quick and it's only a Mark 5, so I know that I have a lot more engine power, so I can put it into a spiral. He will be able to probably pitch into this. He's not going to get a very long shot, he's going to get a very slight brief stall shot. He doesn't actually get his nose on target, and we stall directly on top of him. We then drop the flaps a little bit, and because he's stalled out, we have the ability to simply drop our nose and just land on top of him. At this point he can't really do much. He's too slow, we are in too good of a position, and we're just gonna keep spraying our 850 cals until one of his wings fall off, and then we just go. So, why the gun pods? The 850 cals definitely help with some of the issues. It makes it so that we don't have to make multiple passes. It helps with the fact that our rudder doesn't work, because when we do actually get a shot off, we might hit a few more rounds. And all in all, it makes it a little bit stronger in the head-ons as well. So this way, you have a little bit more battle presence. The issue with this is that the performance actually takes a bit of a hit. It makes you slower, climb worse, turn worse, lose more speed in turns. So it alleviates some of the issues that this plane already had, while also making some other issues slightly worse. So really, it's just a bit of a trade-off, and for me it depends on the matchmaker that I'm having. So right now we are dragging a Spitfire to the deck, trying to make sure that he loses as much energy as possible, and the Yak 9 behind him is trying to do the same thing, and the Yak turns himself into fish bait, puts himself on a hook, and throws himself in the water. The Spitfire, like the goldfish he is, instantly turns around because attention span is hard. And we just kind of climb away for now to store some of the energy in our balls. The Yak 9, however, is flying around without any wings now, and the Spitfire, after going for the Yak, flies away and then turns back around. He just threw away a hefty amount of energy. He went into a dive above his top speed, and then he did a 360 degree turn, and then did another 180 degree turn. So the Spitfire instantly got himself out of the match by simply turning a little bit too much. And until now I haven't really done anything in this match other than bait the Spitfire low and bait our Yak into blowing his wings off and turning himself into fish bait. But now the battle kind of starts. I can drop in on this 109 F4. We shoot a few rounds, we take his pilot out. We then just turn around, and at these speeds the energy retention of this vehicle isn't actually that bad. It's when you start going into the 500 km/h range. Then we slot onto the Spitfire, we Jeffrey Epstein him in the back of his head, and we just again disengage from the main fight. We get a little bit of altitude back, because that's what you definitely need in this thing. You don't want to be on the back foot, you don't want to be on the defensive in this thing. You can't really defensive fly in this vehicle, and that's mainly because you run out of energy so quickly. If people end up on your 6, you're probably going to be dead before you actually get to reverse them, because you are going to be extremely slow in front of them. First of all, we go for the 109 F4, because he's the highest and definitely the biggest threat in this fight right here. We get a crit in, and then we just go into a little bit of a spiral and see what he does. He disengages, which for us is basically perfect. So I'm going to focus on the 3 guys below us. The 202 EC doesn't have the engine to do that, and the BF109 F4 that's below us doesn't have the energy to do this. So I can just kind of pick and choose a target. So who do I go for? I'm going to go for the F4 first, and because I set them up in a particular manner, they're going to end up directly in front of me, next to each other, so I can just pick and choose who to go for. In the meantime, the 109 behind us that I crit before is turning around, and so is his buddy. But for now, 2 of them down. I'm much faster than these guys. I'm already almost going their top speed, and I'm in a slight climb, so I'm just gonna be climbing away for a little bit and actually wait for my teammate. The 109 F4 is one of those planes that I don't really want to fight unless I have a decent energy advantage, because right now if I have to turn around, when I turn around, I'm going to merge at like 250-300 kilometers an hour, because this thing won't maintain its speed. And the 109 F4 is one of those vehicles that's extremely strong in a 1v1 versus this thing. So for right now, I just want this guy to be distracted. I'm going to be pulling this guy directly away from my teammate, so he gets pure 6. And the 109 is forced to make a decision. Is he going to chase the guy that he's slowly but surely catching, or is he going to get the guy off his ass? The second he starts getting a little bit too close for comfort, I can just level out and I will run away again. The F8F is catching us. If he does decide to go for the other 109 behind us, that's not really a big issue, because then I can actually somewhat 1v1 the other 109. I notice that the other 109 is turning around, so I'm gonna instantly turn after him. Maybe he will turn back, maybe he won't. I don't really know what he's gonna do, so I'm just gonna send it. He turns for me. Okay, first 109 is off the first friendly. Second 109 also comes for me, so now my teammate has both of their 6s. So what do? I just go sideways on to give them both the illusion that they are going to be catching me and they are going to be getting the kill, and it straightens out the 109s enough so that my F8F can simply just sneak up on them. The first 109 breaks off, and the second one decides to still chase me around. The F8F is now going to be almost directly on the 109's 6, and then the other 109 actually breaks off again. And this is why acceleration and speed is so powerful. We can simply decide when to engage. The F8F is now riding the ass of the first 109, the second one is coming in, and I just need to kill one. The second I kill one of these, it's basically game over. So what do? I go for the one that's behind my teammate. Don't go for the one that's in front of my teammate, because that doesn't help anyone. This way I save my teammate, and my teammate will continue to put pressure on the other 109. I'm gonna be running circles around here for a little bit, but I notice that the F8F basically has it, and I'm gonna be giving him the kill. I will be staying near him, I will be kind of keeping an eye on him, because I don't want him to get killed. And then I also end up losing the 1v1 with the F4. I doubt it in this kind of energy state, but it's always a possibility, and he helped out enough, so I'm just gonna give him the kill for the teamwork. We both deserve a piece of the pie, so to speak. Also, I tried to make it clear which 109 I was going for. I was gonna say the numbers guy or the whatever, but they were both having a lot of numbers in their name, so I could have just gone for the squadron name, I guess. But I mean, it's hard to differentiate when they're all just a bunch of random numbers. Then we clean up the last 2 bombers on the enemy team, and I mean, AA didn't work at this time, so I mean, I love it. AA shouldn't work ever, because it just breaks up the entire game. We set him on fire, we set like 3 fires on him, and then we just spray him down. AA in the meantime does absolutely piss, and we get the 7th kill. Now let's look at a game where we actually get up tiered and we don't have the gun pods equipped, because then we really just lack the performance that we really need. The Spitfire was climbing in our general vicinity, and I mean, I didn't really want to contest it because I wasn't going quick enough, but he decided to go for the Yak 3. He now gives me the ability to interrupt his 1v1. A little bit greedy here, but I'm gonna take it, because the Spitfire is gonna be an absolute sitting duck. The Yak then decides it's a good idea to constantly spiral down, and he's essentially making it so that I can't help him without sacrificing every ounce of energy, and I'm just not gonna help him. He basically killed himself. If he dies now, it is on him. I see the tier 1 coming in, probably not gonna do much, but I'm not gonna sacrifice the game to help a singular teammate that clearly isn't looking around for his teammate. A7M also coming in, And if I help that guy, if I kill the Spitfire, what ends up happening is I'm going to get everyone above me. In the F8F, you cannot allow yourself to be below people at a lower energy state. Unless you're going extremely quickly, you can't really have people above you. They will run you down, and as I said before, going defensively, especially against vehicles that turn very well, you're not going to get very far. So the Yak is still dogfighting with the Spitfire somehow. The A6M is being in a little bit of a 3v1, and again I'm going to interrupt it by coming from a little bit of an off angle. I'm gonna pull in for the head-on, I want to spray a little bit, and I'm gonna just break off and get out of here. I get a crit in, he hits one of his MGs, but he is essentially dead now. He is crit, he got some engine damage, and an A6M, you're not gonna get very far with engine damage, you're gonna fall out of the air very quickly. Then a second A6M comes in, and I'm going quick enough to contest the head-on, and I'm just gonna spray. I'm gonna dodge the head-on, I then try to pull back in, but this plane doesn't really want to do that, and I'm just gonna dive out. Spitfire is directly above us, and for now I'm just worried about the A6M. I'm not really worried, I'm just trying to get the distance between us, and I'm trying to bait the Spitfire down to make sure he sacrifices a lot of energy and position. He doesn't do that, he breaks off, and he's gonna go for my teammate. So I'm just gonna see if I can keep my altitude, if I can get above the Spitfire. But the Spitfire very quickly kills the F4U, and now we are basically on the same level again, except this time he's a lot slower and I'm actually a bit faster, so our net gain is kind of positive. For now I just want this guy again to dive on me. We are at an altitude where I don't want to fight a Griffin. I do not want to contest a Griffin at 5 kilometers in a Bearcat, so I'm just gonna try to get this guy to dive on us. And I'm gonna make sure to slowly turn in, slowly make sure that it looks like he's gaining, but this guy isn't having any of it. Every time I do this, he simply breaks off, gets 2 kilometers behind us, actually wastes more energy than by trying to stick on me, and he just breaks off again. So this time we're gonna do the same thing, we're gonna turn in, and I just want this guy to dive on us, but he just doesn't want to do it. He ends up floating above us for a good 2 to 3 minutes. I'm not gonna bore you with that. So we are just gonna transition to the Spitfire with the other Spitfire 4 kilometers behind me. However, the other Spitfire behind me is now being busy getting ganged up by my entire team. So we make a pass on the first Spitfire, we then just kind of fly away. We are going quick enough, he's going slow enough, and I can just put it into a little bit of a vertical climb. I don't want to go too steep, because that's going to make it so that the top speed difference isn't as important. And I just want to kind of loop over behind him. Spitfire can't really follow this because he doesn't have the energy to do so. And I can just loop on behind him again and make sure that I can do this all day long. I need to be careful. I need to make sure that I actually store most of my energy in my balls instead of turning it all away and becoming a sitting duck. I need to be faster than the Spitfire to energy trap him. I can't really rely on engine power. I can't really rely on stall speeds because this Spitfire will definitely beat me when it comes to that. So we are chasing him. We are now going again a decent amount quicker, and I'm just going to try to get a singular shot in here. We get a crit. You see the rudder doing absolutely nothing, and now I can actually send it because he took a bad line. My teammates are also there to interrupt, and I can just kind of send it after him. We are gonna pull up over his nose, behind him basically, making it so he has to pull a little bit further to get guns on us. And at this point we essentially have him stalled out. We are just gonna pull behind him now because he actually manages to turn down. And because he's going quick enough and we have at least a little bit of speed, we are going to get the shot once again. Yes, there are multiple people around here, but as you can see, this guy is mainly focusing on me, and they didn't really affect the course of the battle that much. Of course, the fact that I crit him definitely helped. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.